The entire lobby burst into laughter. An executive deliberately knocked over his cup of coffee onto the spotless marble floor. The dark liquid spread toward the polished shoes of an old janitor. "Hey, old man," the executive sneered. "That's what we pay you for." Without saying a word, Daniel calmly began mopping the spilled coffee while standing. The employees continued laughing in the background. No one noticed the elderly man glance briefly at the executive's expensive watch, then at the security camera above the entrance. Before sunset, that same executive would be escorted out of the building in handcuffs, and the old janitor, everyone ignored, would take the seat at the head of the boardroom. The invisible employee Novatech Industries was one of America's fastest-growing AI companies. Thousands dreamed of working there. Daniel Brooks arrived every morning at 7:30 a.m., long before the first executive stepped through the revolving doors. Gray hair, simple uniform, comfortable old shoes, a gentle smile. He greeted everyone. Most walked past him as if he didn't exist. Some didn't even make eye contact. Daniel never seemed offended. He simply kept cleaning. Exactly 8 a.m. The front doors opened. Emma Carter, the young receptionist, walked in carrying 2 paper cups. She handed one to Daniel. "Good morning, Mr. Brooks. Black coffee, no sugar." Daniel smiled warmly. "You remembered. You told me once." Emma replied. It seemed important for Daniel. It was, because in 6 months, she was the only employee who had ever asked how his day was going. At 8:45 a.m., Victor Kane entered the lobby. Senior Vice President, future CEO, feared by almost everyone. Employees immediately straightened their posture. Victor stopped beside Daniel, looked at the freshly cleaned floor, then deliberately dropped his coffee. Splash. "Looks like I just created more work for you." Several employees laughed nervously. Daniel quietly picked up the mop. "Have a wonderful day, sir." Victor smirked. "That's the first smart thing you've said." Daniel simply smiled. But as Victor walked away, Daniel noticed a folded document slipping from his expensive leather briefcase. Daniel picked up the folded paper. His eyes scanned the first line. Project Horizon, confidential. At the bottom was a handwritten note. Move the remaining funds before next Friday's audit. No signature, no company logo, just initials, VK. He quietly folded the paper and slipped it into his pocket. He didn't look surprised, only thoughtful. That evening, after everyone had left, Daniel wasn't just cleaning. He watched. He noticed which offices stayed lit after midnight, who entered restricted floors, who avoided the security cameras. He never followed anyone. He simply observed. Years of experience had taught him one lesson. People reveal themselves when they think nobody is watching. Near the executive elevators, Daniel found a trash bag filled with shredded papers. Most janitors would throw it away. Daniel carried it home instead. That night, he spent hours carefully joining the tiny pieces together. When the final page was complete, one number stood out. $48 million. Company money, transferred to 3 shell companies. Someone inside Novatech was stealing millions. The next morning, Emma noticed Daniel looked tired. "Didn't sleep well?" Daniel smiled. "Sometimes puzzles keep old men awake." Emma laughed. "I like puzzles." Daniel looked at her for a moment. "So do I." Before she could ask what he meant, Victor stormed into the lobby. "Emma, board meeting, now." She hurried away. Daniel quietly watched Victor disappear into the executive elevator. Just before noon, the head of security approached Daniel. "I have something for you." He handed Daniel a sealed envelope. Inside was a single card. Board of Directors Emergency Meeting, Friday, 3 p.m. Daniel read it once, folded it, placed it in his pocket. Victor happened to walk past and laughed. "A janitor invited to a board meeting?" The nearby employees chuckled. "Must be delivering the trash," Victor mocked. Daniel simply replied, "We'll both be there, Mr. Kane." Victor grinned. "I wouldn't count on that." Daniel smiled. Neither would he. The executive floor buzzed with tension. Lawyers, board members, and senior executives filed into the massive glass boardroom. Victor adjusted his tie, confident this meeting would confirm his promotion to CEO. As the doors were about to close, Daniel stepped out of the service elevator. still wearing his blue janitor's uniform, still carrying his old mop bucket. The room fell silent. Victor laughed. "I think you're lost." Several executives smirked. Daniel calmly looked at the security guard. "I'm here for the meeting." Before anyone could stop him, the chairman spoke. "Let him in." Confused whispers filled the room. Daniel placed his mop against the wall, removed his work gloves, then quietly took the empty chair at the far end of the table. Victor slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. He's a janitor." The chairman slowly stood. "No, Mr. Kane. He chose to become one." The room froze. The chairman smiled warmly. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the founder of Novatech." Every board member rose to their feet. One by one, not out of fear, out of respect. Victor's face turned pale. Emma, standing outside the glass wall with other employees, couldn't believe what she was seeing. Daniel looked around the room. "I retired 8 years ago. I returned 6 months ago, disguised as a janitor. I wanted to see what this company had become when no one believed the founder was watching." Daniel pressed a button on the remote beside him. The screen lit up. Security footage filled the room. Victor insulting cleaners, managers mocking interns, executives ignoring safety violations, employees lying to clients. Every clip had a date, a time, and evidence. Daniel looked at Victor. "You thought I was cleaning your floors. I was actually observing your character." The final evidence. Daniel placed a thick file on the table. The missing $48 million. The company's legal advisor opened it. Bank transfers, fake invoices, email records, hidden accounts. Every page pointed to Victor and 2 senior executives. The room became deadly quiet. Victor finally spoke. "You're framing me." Daniel calmly smiled. "No, you shredded the documents. You forgot the cleaning staff always empties the trash." At that moment, 2 police detectives entered the boardroom. One officer stepped toward Victor. "Mr. Kane, you're under arrest for corporate fraud, money laundering, and breach of fiduciary duty." No one defended him. Victor looked around desperately. The handcuffs clicked shut. The police escorted Victor out of the boardroom. Silence settled over the room. Every executive knew what came next. The chairman smiled. "Mr. Brooks, the company is yours again." Daniel slowly shook his head. "No, I didn't come back to run Novatech." Confused faces filled the room. "Then, why did you come back?" one director asked. Daniel looked through the glass wall into the lobby below. Employees hurried past the cleaning staff without a glance. He sighed. "Because numbers don't build great companies. People do." Daniel picked up a small notebook from the table. "I've written down every meaningful interaction I've seen over the last 6 months." He flipped through its pages. Who helped others? Who took responsibility? Who respected people with no authority? And who only respected power? The room was silent. This wasn't an investigation. It was an interview. The chairman asked quietly, "So, who passed?" Daniel smiled. "Emma Carter." Gasps echoed around the room. "The receptionist?" one executive whispered. Daniel nodded. "She greeted every cleaner by name. She stayed late to help coworkers without asking for credit. She admitted mistakes instead of hiding them. And she treated a lonely old janitor like a human being." Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't even have an MBA." Daniel smiled warmly. "I can teach business. I can't teach character." 6 months later, Novatech had its most successful year in company history. Employee satisfaction reached a record high. The company launched a new policy. Every executive would spend 1 day each month working alongside cleaners, receptionists, cafeteria staff, and security guards. Not as punishment, but as a reminder. On Daniel's final visit, he walked through the lobby one last time. A young janitor accidentally bumped into him. "I'm so sorry, sir." Daniel smiled and helped him pick up the cleaning supplies. "No need to apologize." Then he quietly walked out into the morning sunlight. No cameras, no applause, no headlines. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing he had left the company better than he found it. The strongest leaders aren't the ones who demand respect, they're the ones who give it first.